Welcome to the Popcorn Talk Network, for the online broadcast network that features movie discussion, news, and interviews. Press 1. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
Congratulations. On behalf of the Popcorn Talk Network, the online broadcast network for movie talk, and the Schmoes know, you are now a member of the Jedi Alliance. May the Force be with you, always.
Hello and welcome to Jedi Alliance, a celebration of the greatest saga ever told, and soon there will be so much more saga to celebrate, almost constantly, more and more saga. Today, our episode is entitled Revenge of the Marketing. We're going to be talking about how all of the marketing choices and all the kind of pop culture jokes that we come up with in society, how they affect the actual movies, whether they're good, bad, in between, and all that awesome stuff. I'm one of your hosts. My name is Joseph Scrimshaw. Here, as always, is your other host.
I'm the Internet Soapbox Mark Donica. You find me on Twitter at SoapboxMark, and we have the returning Mr. Mike Black joining us. You're one of the biggest targets of the Star Wars marketing, as evidenced by all of the toys that we haven't even put on the show.
Yeah, we put a very small amount of the toys I brought in on here.
So for folks who may be watching for the first time, why don't you introduce yourself, tell them what you do.
I'm Mike Black. I'm a stand-up comedian, regular at the Comedy Store, and massive nerd, and I collect action figures. That's probably the biggest hobby I have. Would be that.
Cool.
So,
well, we are thrilled to have you back. You were on our episode where we discussed The Force Awakens, just like hours after we had all seen it the first and second times.
Yeah.
So how many more times have you seen it since we last talked?
I have seen it 4 since then, yes.
Okay, so a total of 5.
Including like the fancy 3D, like ultra...
Yes.
It's crazy version.
Yeah, the good.
Okay.
We've talked about it every week because we've been asking people about their experiences of seeing it, and it keeps coming up that is the most awesome version. Did you feel that way?
Like, I didn't expect it to be, because I'm one of the 4 people that saw The Phantom Menace in 3D.
Okay.
And aside from the film, I thought, I'm used to old school 3D where it would stuff would fly out at you, and I was expecting the pod race scene's gonna be amazing. There's gonna be wreckage flying past you.
Yeah.
There was none of that. It was just a lot of depth, and this one, it really felt like you were inside it. It wasn't just depth, but it also felt like the film was kind of wrapped around you and you were in the world. And so it was a very, very cool way to see it. I don't think you need it to enjoy the movie at all, but it certainly did enhance it for a second or third viewing. So
Yeah.
I would shell out and do it if you get a chance,
Yeah, I think it's worth it for the BB-8 roll in your face.
Yes.
So since we are going to be talking about marketing, I did want to ask you, you've got a massive collection of toys. You're an expert on it. Your Instagram is all sorts of fun, obscure toys. What is your single favorite thing that has come from The Force Awakens, toy-wise?
Ooh. Man, favorite is a real hard one to put on me, but
I'm a jerk.
What's
the first favorite that comes to mind?
I don't own it yet.
Okay.
But I've seen it at Frank & Sons. This is a big collectible show. But the older version of Han Solo in the Star Wars Black Series, I can't believe how good it looks.
Yeah.
It really looks like him. Like you have a tiny Harrison Ford in your house. and the guy was like, it's $40, because you know how people, right when something comes out, they try and gouge you for it.
Yeah, as much as possible.
And I was like, I have $40, or I could scrounge. I could donate plasma, and I was really thinking of different ways. And I was like, no, I'm just gonna wait. They're gonna make more of these, eventually.
Yeah, it's a very popular character, so it should be available.
I'll be able to find him, but the quality of it was so nice that I really, for the first time ever, was like, I could just do that. I could just drop $40 and not have a problem.
Well, I am thrilled that your favorite thing is a figure that you don't have yet that costs too much that you covet, because that I think is the truth of being a Star Wars collector. My favorite thing I can't have.
Yeah, it's a lot of it is what's next. Now that I know that this is from Jedi, but it's the Darth Vader when he's being electrocuted.
Then they
that's
have
a Walgreen exclusive. And it's his helmet is translucent purple, and you can see the skull underneath.
That part is cool, but is this the same figure that has a mess of blue lightning, plastic blue lightning that does not look like lightning, also attached to his head?
No, that's the older 3 3/4 one.
Okay, yeah, that one's comically horrible.
The new one is just that, and I think you can remove his hand. And
Okay,
I
cool.
think that's it.
That's awesome. Awesome.
But yeah,
Walgreens
those are hitting
exclusive.
Walgreens now, so be on the lookout for those.
Cool. And do you want to share, since you brought it, do you want to share your space log before we move on?
I went to Disneyland and I had to get this because this is the most fantastic thing.
For people who are listening just on iTunes, can you describe the
weird
god-awful
latex-
thing that is
It is
happening?
the space slug from The Empire Strikes Back that Han Solo and everyone was hiding out inside of, unbeknownst to them in the asteroid field. And it looks just like it. Well, not just like it, but it looks pretty close for having a hand inside of it. And I found that they've re-released Micro Machines, for Star Wars.
Yeah.
And the Millennium Falcon fits perfectly in its mouth.
See, it bothers me because there's not a hole in the back of its throat, so it's not accurate. The ship couldn't fly in.
No, but you can still take a lovely picture of it in its mouth or what have you.
Let's pose with it.
It'd be a great topper on a birthday cake. Throw this up there to have it pop it out.
Yeah, out of context, popping out of things, it just looks like Alien.
Yeah, it does. But I noticed the only difference is the little ears. It has the little asteroid ears.
Yeah.
Otherwise, pretty much the Aliens thing. They may have just slapped a couple ears on old Aliens product that didn't sell.
Maybe.
But it's cool.
And you don't use it for anything practically around the house. You're not like, when hey, I want to pick up something gross, I'll put this on.
Like that, I should eventually. I know there'll come a day of laziness where I don't have like a gardening glove or something like that, and the other people in the neighborhood are just gonna have to judge me.
It seems like something you would take on a walk with a dog. Just to pick up
have the tennis ball fight with your dog with that. Other people, what are you doing?
Make cleaning up after it a lot more fun than it actually is.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, glad to have you back, Mike.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Why don't we get started with news from the HoloNet? A fun week of news this week. We got stuff from all around the Star Wars universe, starting with the Star Wars land construction, which has already begun on both coasts. On February 21st, we have Mr. Harrison Ford that is going to be previewing all of the offerings that are going to be at the Star Wars land. He's going to be hosting the special. We don't know in what capacity, if he's just going to be like the one that goes here, or if he's going to be leading the entire conversation. But would you want him to appear in character as Han Solo, maybe pre or post?
I have a clarifying question for you first, as Disney expert. Is this how widely broadcast is this Disney TV special going to be? ABC. So everyone's going to be seeing this. So
everybody's
going to
be able to see it.
Okay, excellent. I think I just want him to be Harrison Ford.
Yeah,
because Harrison Ford, the new, brave, excited Harrison Ford that we've seen advertising The Force Awakens, is just kind of fascinating to me.
Yeah.
That he has gone from famously grumpy to strange, exotic, excited guy.
Strange, enigmatic man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is his first public appearance since the events of the movie, so it'd be interesting to see how he handles the whole thing.
Yeah, and I think the last time he did a network special in character as Han Solo, it didn't work out so well. So
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The holiday special that I watched recently with my wife. Yeah.
Oh, you poor soul.
Oh, it was fine. It was hard. It was hard, but it was good. It was good.
It'd
It was
be
good
really
pain.
awkward though to see him as Han Solo and really into it with like a bunch of Disney executives behind him. That'd be a real hard thing to watch.
Well, it's not live, right? So he can't go totally off the deep end.
No.
So it's scripted. So right. So he'll probably just look at the camera and be charming.
We
right?
don't know yet. We don't know yet. We don't know if he's the kind of an actor and the kind of a personality who deserves to be like, okay, we're not going to give you a script. Here's the points that we want you to hit. Just go ahead. But at the same time, I would want to give him a script. I would want to give him a full teleprompter.
Yeah, here's what I think they might do, and what would be cool.
Yeah.
Is if they have somebody like who's a really good host who knows what all the rides are about, what the exhibits are about, and knows everything about him, and Harrison Ford to just come along asking questions. Just going like, so what? People are just gonna sit here? In the cantina? Do they serve real alcohol? No? That seems lame.
What's the point?
Looks at the camera. Yeah.
I don't see what you people see in this.
Light glittering off his earrings.
That's usually what Disney does is they have somebody come out, like they've done it for the D23s in the past couple of years, where they have a host who introduces the different specialists from the different parts that they're going to be talking about. So it's going to be probably the different designers, the different landscape creation people, everybody come in from Blue Sky, from Imagineering, to really introduce everything, and he's going to be the one saying, "Wow, all right, next." Like that.
Or he's the one who eventually goes, "I'm bored now."
Yeah.
Next topic.
Can I new drink, please? I need a refill.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's going to be fun seeing him in that capacity, I think. Big possible news for you big Star Wars Rebels fans. This is
the best setup ever.
Yeah, I do what I can.
Do you guys like big possibles?
That's what we're here for. That's us, Jedi Alliance. So there is a rumor that a Legends character, an expanded universe character, is going to be joining the Rebels Season 3 cast as a villain, and that is Commander Thrawn. Oh no! So definitely not Grand Admiral status. This is him sort of
working his way up
through the Empire. If this rumor holds true, first of all, does it get you excited? Second of all, does that rule out any other film appearances?
I'm excited about seeing his character if they play the racism of the Empire angle. Because that was such a big part of his character, of that he was a brilliant tactician, but kind of pushed to the outer territories because the Empire in general is like, no, everybody with weird British accents, white people with weird British accents are going to be in charge of everything. Not weird British accents, but consistent,
there you go.
angry little British accents. So I like that part of the story, and there's been little bits and pieces of that's been kind of supported by the new canon. So it'd be cool to see them really delve into that, of like, how does a genius like Thrawn feel about that?
Yeah, I think that would be an interesting thing to show on a show like that, too. Like, how they navigate that. I would be very interested in seeing that character. For them to delve into him, especially that early in his career, when all of that stuff is still happening.
Yeah.
You know?
And does that mean that we wouldn't see him in any other appearances in any other media?
I don't see why that would rule that out.
I feel like that they're trying to keep things a little bit separate. I think I read an interview with Dave Filoni where he was saying, like, well, we're kind of trying to keep the television, and we talk about it week after week, and I think as fans who are absorbing a lot of these things, we would love to see a little bit more canon overlap, especially when it's as logical as like Rebels to Rogue One.
Yeah.
But it feels like we're not actually seeing any hints from actual Lucasfilm and Disney that they're heading in that direction.
No, it's just all fan conjecture at this point.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if I were in his shoes, I would play it that way too, and say we're not doing any of that, especially if you are.
Oh, right.
You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, a little tricksy.
Yeah.
Nice.
You never know what people are planning, so that if something does come to fruition, then you can be like, hey, surprise.
Hey, we never said we wouldn't. We just said we weren't planning it. You know?
I feel like it is the biggest sort of them opening the floodgates to saying, yes, fans, scream at us always about which expanded universe characters you'd like us to bring back. Because if we're willing to bring back this guy, who's kind of one of the, I would say kind of up there with Mara Jade of expanded universe characters to bring back into the fold, that they're opening the floodgates.
Really good point, and a real good way of looking at it is that most companies that have a big property like that, they're kind of telling you in a roundabout way, you vote with your dollars. Like,
right.
If you want to see Harley Quinn in a movie, start buying up a bunch of merch. And that happened in the last 10 years. I mean, now she's in a movie. I think stuff like that matters. Get your voice out there. If you like a character, support it.
Cool. We'll be talking about more of that kind of stuff for a main topic. So nice setup, Mike Black.
Thank you. And we'll get more to that later. What type of a voice would you want him to have, though? Just as a sort of a wrap-up thing. Since we did have James Arnold Taylor in last week, voice of Obi-Wan. Make sure to go back and watch that episode after this one. But
not during.
Not during. What type of a voice did you always picture Thrawn to have?
I can't remember if it's described in the novels because it's been so long since I've read them, but I would like a cold hiss.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the name has that kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, and that he's a brilliant tactician, and that he's just very cool and precise. And then maybe every once in a while, it's just some hissing, like some
Not-
actual.
Yeah.
Actual hissing.
Yeah.
Like he's a bomb about to pop off.
I like the idea that it might be intentional too. Like it's not like part of his body or natural noises. Or anything.
He just
He's
does
just like,
it.
every once in a while, like,
He's just very theatrical.
I think I would like for him to be the opposite of all of the empirical like delegates that we've seen. Not long-winded, very, very to the point and abrupt. Not necessarily,
Yes.
and very matter of fact.
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the Imperials we've met have been menacing, but a little bumbling.
Yeah, just keep talking while we do all this stuff back here.
Yeah, yeah.
and
All
then
right.
as soon as you leave the room,
You just open it, like peer back.
he has just like a dignitary next to him who's just like, That's
Ooh,
how
you got
I
the
feel.
hiss. You should hiss at him. Next
Three
story.
hisses up.
3 hisses. In the Z formation. So our next story, this is good. The Star Wars 1313 successor is not going to be out for several years. There was a rumor that was going around that the Visceral game, the company Visceral was working on a game to be announced this year. That was going to be the spiritual successor to Star Wars 1313, which is all about Boba Fett growing up, which fell with the fall of LucasArts. So instead, it's looking more like 2017.
I love how saga-esque that
Yeah,
sounded.
it was,
do it
yes.
again.
The
It
fall of
died at the
LucasArts.
Battle of LucasArts.
Dude, it totally did.
It did.
So with this new game, would you want, and now that we're not going to be getting it for a couple of years, do you want a 1313 type story? Like, do you want this to come back from the grave of LucasArts, or do you want something tied to the anthology films, like a Rogue One game or a Han Solo game or an unknown third thing?
I like the idea of a Boba Fett game, but what I would really like is that period where everyone's looking for Han Solo, and you could play as him, and the boss battles sort of set themselves up where you fight off all the other competing bounty hunters.
The big name bounty hunters,
to
yeah.
get to that last level, of catching Han Solo.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, I would love to just have a Han Solo first-person shooter.
Yeah,
That would
like
be
that would be
fun,
really
too.
cool to almost just have like an old school, like for just straightforward first-person shooter, but it's Han Solo with all of that flavor of Star Wars.
And now that they have like the stuff they do in the Fallout games where you can have companions that are actually helpful and don't just die.
Don't just
If you could have like a
run in
Chewbacca
front of your
like
blaster.
that would
Yeah.
be really cool,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I would want something on the scope of a Fallout, but a little bit more like maybe a Red Dead Redemption, like
Oh,
like a
yeah.
space western.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Sort of
I
a
would love
thing
that
with Han Solo.
Yeah, that would be great.
That would be fantastic.
And instead of you can go to different planets as opposed to different areas of one big map. But that would be fun.
Oh yeah, and I mean, I wasted hours and hours of my life playing poker in Red Dead Redemption.
Dice, Liar's Dice.
Yeah. So if I could play, the space games as Han Solo.
Yeah, so like a mix
Sabacc
between
all
that and
yeah.
Mass Effect, basically, would be. Did you guys ever play Mass Effect?
I played a little bit of Mass Effect. I wasn't big in Xbox early in its thing.
I would recommend that game to any Star
Yeah.
Wars fan because it's so much fun. But what the best thing about it, and I would love to see this worked into a Star Wars game, is that they did Mass Effect 1, 2, and 3, and each game that you moved to, they saved your character data.
Oh,
and
awesome.
he looked the
Yeah.
same and got like a little bit older.
And they remembered the
and
choices
they
that you
remembered
made
different
previously.
stuff that you
So,
did.
That's really awesome.
That would
I never
be
knew that
a
about
cool
the sequels.
thing.
Yeah, so maybe even something like that, something successive like Mass Effect. Visceral is under the EA banner, which does own the Mass Effect series, and the
Oh,
company
that's
that does
cool.
they own BioWare, so
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
there's a little bit of talking happening. Either way, a lot of conjecture to happen because we're probably not going to get an announcement until next year. But speaking of announcements, there's been a little bit of a confusion. Speaking of fan conjecture as well, since the departure of Josh Trank, the third anthology movie, we were initially told that we were going to get every other year a different Star Wars movie, and in 2020 was going to be the third anthology movie. As of late, hasn't been any sort of a confirmation as the image shows. We have this was back at D23 even, where it shows all three of the Star Wars episodes on top and then the two anthology movies on the bottom, with the third very conspicuously absent. So now the idea of a Boba Fett movie is up in the air. Is that something you still want to see? Would you want to see his story connect to the Han Solo movie in just a little bit? Or now, after seeing what the new world of Star Wars can be, is there a completely new idea that you would want to see instead of a Boba Fett movie now?
I would be happy. This sounds awful, but I'd be happy for them to skip 2020 and maybe take a year to just see, how does Rogue One work? How does Han Solo work? Do we get the best idea from them? I'm happy for them to put the brakes on. Let's just throw out Origins. Yeah, hey, Boba Fett. You like Boba Fett? Here he is. You like Yoda? Here's a Yoda movie. Of course, I've said again and again, what I want more than anything is an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie or trilogy.
So say we all.
So say we all. Say we all. Mixing our fandoms. But
what just happened? I blacked out.
I think that it might just be the wisdom of, we're seeing how people react to the new saga movies, and we're making changes based on those in terms of characters, in terms of release dates. We're seeing from the company some willingness to be affected by the audience reaction. So I think it might be a really smart move to just see how Rogue One goes, see how Han Solo goes, and see what's the best building block to make sure that we can keep putting out a lot of Star Wars movies, but somehow keep them special.
Yeah. And I think, maybe a year off every now and again is not a bad thing in general, because part of what works about Star Wars is missing it.
Yeah. Nostalgia.
And if we're doing it every single year, I know people that are already tired of it. Just, since Force Awakens came out, there are people going, all right, enough Star Wars. So getting them a year from now to get excited about it again is going to be a tall order. So I don't know if Rogue One has the same chance that Force Awakens has with the mass audience. It'll get, I'm definitely going, and it'll get you guys, I'm sure. But I know we all know people that went and saw Force Awakens that are just not in unless it's the trailer is just mind-blowing.
Right.
Yeah, I think it varies. They're slowly learning from the exposure of Marvel, and again, we're going to go into it when we talk about the marketing, but Marvel is getting to a point that I hope Star Wars never does, where things are finally starting to overlap, because there's a time where, all right, here's a Marvel movie, and then here's a season of a show, and then, just when that's over, here's another Marvel movie. But now Daredevil is going to be, season 2 is going to be coming out at while Peggy Carter is still on the air, and then they're going to be promoting heavy for Civil War, and it's getting to a point where, I'm going to go see it, and I'm going to watch Daredevil first weekend, but it's still like, maybe I'll start to wait on some of that stuff.
But you're also giving each of them a little less attention too, as they come out. Well. Like I watched what was the last one that came out? The last
Jessica Jones?
Jessica Jones.
Okay.
See? That's part of the problem. But when
the last Marvel what?
Yeah, when I was watching Jessica Jones, it was kind of like, I got to get through this because I have other things. I have too much on my plate.
I got to catch up to S.H.I.E.L.D.
And so I was watching it, but it was like, okay, got it. Next one,
Yeah, I think what Marvel has really successfully done, they've got the TV shows, obviously, but they've made the movies TV shows in a way that movies have never been TV shows, where they're big, exciting chapters, but they're the next chapter in an ongoing story. And like you were saying, Mark, that all the characters overlap. And we had a show where we talked about this a lot on Jedi Alliance, where maybe they'll try to do that with the Star Wars universe if they're insistent on putting a movie out every year. They kind of have to make them start to overlap. But maybe this pause is them rethinking that and saying it needs to be an event, and we need to take a little bit of a breather. Or if we're going to really build a universe, we have to pick which corner we're going to build in.
And with the recent delay of the beginning of filming for Episode 8, to sort of reanalyze where the movies are going, I would support a year off as well. Because then we're going to have the release of the all 9 episode anthology on Blu-ray and then there's going to be
we could have
going to be there still.
Rebels could still be coming out. We could have a different cartoon. We could maybe even have a live action TV show. But I think in terms of the movies, the big the big events, maybe
Yeah.
a little bit of a breather.
Yeah, let's take a break.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Cool. So, really quickly, speaking of Rebels, if you are a fan of Star Wars Rebels, why don't you visit our sister site, AfterBuzz TV, where we have a weekly show dedicated to Rebels after every single episode comes out. Head to AfterBuzz TV, check out Star Wars Rebels, and let's get to our main topic, Joseph.
Excellent. So we are going to talk revenge of the marketing and pop culture up to that point. Mark and I were talking after last week's show, and we're both just really fascinated by the willingness of Disney Lucasfilm to respond to fans in terms of pushing back the movie, I think, as a reaction to just the whole general public really enjoying having holiday be all Star Wars all the time. And if the rumors are true that there are rewrites on Episode 8 to focus on Rey, Finn, and Poe and make sure that they all get plenty of time because they're beloved, to me, that's the perfect level of creators listening to fans. It's not like going on Twitter and going like, hey, we have a competition to make up a line, and no matter how dumb it is, we're going to put it in the movie. It's not that kind of fan service. It's not the tail leading the dog, but it is a reflection of what fans like. And there's so much out there that isn't the movies, either the marketing choices or things that fans just create, like the emo Kylo Ren. So we're going to be talking about all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we're going to start with talking about some of the merchandising. There is, and I've seen other people talking about this, there is a lot of 50% off Star Wars stuff.
Yep.
And there was before the movie came out. For those watching on YouTube, they can see Mark sipping in a point-making way.
What?
Yes, because in particular, there's been a lot of I saw Kylo Ren mugs, the ones where you, not this one. Mark's is
Actually,
pretty
no,
cool.
this one
But it was
at GameStop
50%
is 50% off, but I bought it full price. Fine, no,
The one where you can just sip out of a giant hole in Kylo Ren's head has been 50% off at Target for for a while. So do you guys think that Disney over-licensed? Did they make too much Star Wars, or was it calculated?
I think they'll be fine, first of all.
This is the downfall of Disney.
At the Battle of Disneyland.
The question is not, do you think Disney has any money?
No.
I will relate the story. I think I told you before, Mike, that I was holiday shopping with my wife. I was at the Grove in Los Angeles, big open-air mall, and I saw a man just looking from side to side. He's maybe about 60, kind of cranky, and then he turned to, I think, his daughter and just said, I just want to look somewhere and not see any damn Star Wars stuff.
He needs to be a character in everything.
Yeah. Pretty grumpy. But I think they did go with a marketing angle of, yes, plaster it on everything, and if it's too much, fine. Do you think that's good for how it affects the discussion of, is there too much Star Wars? Are we burning hardcore fans out? Are we burning the general public out by plastering Kylo Ren on everything before you even know who the character is, and then seeing it 50% off everywhere?
Well, and I think that's what I was talking about earlier about like fans coming to Rogue One, where it's like a lot of the general public is going to be burnt out on Star Wars, and just I think if you go too hardcore with that, and right now I think we're right at the threshold.
Yeah.
If you go too much further, it's going to burn out people, whether it's a quality product or not.
Right.
Like even if you have a great movie lined up, if you just keep going, Star Wars, you got a Star Wars. Star Wars.
You got Star Wars.
Yeah, you better Star Wars.
You got to verb it.
Yeah. But Dad, if you don't Star Wars right now, you're in big trouble. If you keep doing that to people, eventually they just don't like getting bullied.
I will lock you in a room and you watch all the movies.
Yeah, exactly.
And the TV shows, like, great.
And even someone, I'm a big fan, and I feel like I'm Star Warsing. I'm doing it. I'm doing my best.
Even today, for the folks listening on iTunes, Mike made his own T-shirt out of Star Wars stickers because he felt the need to Star Wars.
I wanted to rep, but the thing is, I'm too fat, is what happened. And for even like the fattest Star Wars shirt out there, I'm just too much.
Too much man.
The
You're
world
too much
can't
man
hold
for
me.
Star Wars.
Yours.
And
Too much cool.
And so I took at the dollar store, not the dollar store, the dollar area in Target, they have sticker books. But what sucks is the sticker book on the cover had Darth Vader's chest control panel, and I thought it was going to be a sticker of that.
Oh,
and I was like,
yeah.
how cool will that be?
And $1,
And-
please.
Yeah, I was like, for
Yeah,
I'll
black-
take
$4.
Black T-shirt.
Yeah.
Paste
I was
that
like,
on.
This is perfect.
You can
And-
tell the whole world you have breathing problems.
Yeah, totally. And I was all stoked about it in line at Target, getting ready to buy it. I get out, I open it up, and that's just the cardboard flap. And I'm like, well, I'd have to cut that off and glue it on, and that's going to take too
Sweet
long.
piece of like duct tape.
And so all I have is all these little tiny stickers that don't read.
That's
really,
marketing in action.
You know,
Yeah.
but what can you do?
The Kylo Ren, putting Kylo Ren on everything almost ruined watching the movie for me because, like you said, they put it on everything indiscriminately, whether it was for original trilogy, prequel trilogy, or the new trilogy. And I was walking through the Disney store and I saw a Kylo Ren action figure, a Finn action figure, and a Boba Fett action figure, and they all had the same exact packaging. And this was before the movie, and I went, so Boba Fett's in the movie? Like,
Yes.
did they bring him back and he's going to be a
So
major plot point in the movie?
Room for confusion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I gotta go. I couldn't. While I was watching the movie for the first time, I was like, and then Boba Fett showed up, and then Boba Fett showed up. Just at any second, I was like, thank God.
Well, and it can lead to weird, like, pseudo spoilers like that too. You know, where you're like, "Oh, that guy's exciting," and you're lying to your friends about how Boba Fett's
like,
gonna be in the
prediction: Boba Fett's coming back. You're an idiot. Well,
Yeah, because by that
you're
same
not
logic,
wrong.
like, you know what else is going to be in the movie? Oven mitts and underwear and cover girl models. And,
Exactly.
the Empire's gonna wear sweet polo shirts with the Empire logo right on the
So
breast.
I myself, I enjoyed seeing the volume of it because it was fun to return to the galaxy far, far away and have our whole culture just be immersed in it.
Yeah.
Was really fun.
That was very cool.
But I
did
do worry
enjoy
about
that.
it damaging the general audience to the point of being like it becomes in vogue to really make fun of Star Wars because it's being forced down our throats a little bit too much.
Right.
So I personally, I would
Like-
like to see them dial back a little bit for Episode 8,
Yeah.
or just get very precise and maybe a little bit more elegant in
Yes.
it.
Like, to me, this is the time to dial back before the Blu-ray. Just kind of like, let's ease off. We got everyone in the theater.
Yeah.
Our job is done. Let's wait until the Blu-ray comes out and then maybe push a little bit again, but then ease off for quite a while before we start ramping up for the next one, you know?
And I would say that Rogue One is a great opportunity to not have all of the same marketing that they've been doing for this because it's a completely new story with new characters in kind of the world that we know.
Yeah.
So there's the opportunity to keep that mystique like all of the trailers did up until like the last 2 weeks, but to really keep the mystique of how this event that all fans kind of know of actually happened. And then I saw a story that at a Lego World event they announced a Rogue One line of Lego figures and ships and such, and I was like, no, slow down. You're like, we're a year away. Come on, it's only January.
Too soon.
That leads to my next question, which is Rogue One related. There are a lot of cuddly Darth Vader toys out there, dolls and puppets and whatnot. There was a recent rumor that he is going to be featured prominently in Rogue One, and that he's going to be the Vader that a lot of us have wanted to see, of just slaughtering people, as we know he is capable of doing. It's been written about in, like, the Lords of the Sith book has a lot of great, like, Vader, like, nope, I kill people for the Emperor. That's what I do, and doing it mercilessly. And there's rumors that we're going to see that on screen, which is so exciting. But then my question is, do we still have lots of cuddly Vaders in stores?
In the same way that you have cuddly Dracula, you know, and like cuddly Frankenstein, you know, there's stuff like that exists.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, I've seen stuffed Texas Chainsaw Massacre dolls and stuff. You know?
Leatherface.
Yeah.
Right,
you
but
know.
those are marketed some of those are marketed ironically to adults.
Yeah.
But
I
these
think
are
it's-
straight up like, go to sleep with Darth Vader. Then mom and
Yeah.
dad are going to pop out to the movie
My
where he
Vader
murders
and
everyone.
me.
Well, that's just bad judgment on the parents' fault. That's not, you know, you should be buying those things ironically. You shouldn't.
I don't know,
There should
man.
be an irony section in Target for those kind of items.
I think that's kind of most of our world now, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
I think that would work in the film's favor, though. If we do have that version of Darth Vader back, why not get the kids go, oh, Darth Vader, I love him. I sleep with him every night, and he's my best friend. And then they see him killing everybody, and they just get terrified that this this person that they've been spending every day with could be so terrifying.
Yeah.
And it's a real world lesson.
Yeah, I think it promotes trust issues,
Yeah,
which I think
exactly.
we should all have. When I was a kid,
So question your friends. You feel like
here's an
that's the
interesting
implicit
thing.
message.
When
Hey, you
I-
want to come over? I don't know.
I'm not
Billy.
sure. I'll come over, but we'll see where it goes.
I don't trust a kid named Billy in 2016.
Seriously.
You know, when I was a kid, I had a Darth Vader shampoo bottle.
Right, this is nothing
was
new, yeah.
Shaped like Darth Vader, had you twisted off Darth Vader's head, and you got shampoo.
All right.
I went bald in my mid-20s. So
Oh.
maybe, just maybe, having Darth Vader there trying to warn me.
Maybe.
If I'd listened.
Oh, I thought you were
No,
blaming
that
the
was-
product that like Vader had gotten to your scalp and your hair had disappointed him, and he was like, "Get out."
No, it was basically saying if you want to look like a weird old bald guy, like what's under this mask, keep using this shampoo, kid.
Cool. Well, yeah. For my part, I don't have a problem with it. I think it is just kind of a fascinating cultural thing. I'm glad to see that they're not letting their desire to market to all the demographics affect the actual movies. And we talked about it when it was announced that Force Awakens was going to be PG-13, and then it obviously features one of the main beloved characters dying. And everybody talks about, man, that was really hard. But people are still bringing their kids to it and walking out and saying, what a fun, great,
Yeah, it was
just
a
a
great
great
family
romp,
time."
just a great adventure where they murdered everybody's favorite space grandpa. And it was done by his son, brutally.
And everyone
But we're all kind of
forgets.
okay with it, which to me is cool because I feel like it makes Star Wars a thing that is mostly safe, then has these
Yeah.
pop-up moments of really scary that maybe helps parents talk to kids about those kind of things in real life.
Don't stab me in the chest.
Yes.
It's a very important thing to taltalk about with your kids.
I hadn't thought about parents
You
actually
don't
coming
st-
home like, let's talk.
Are you okay? Do you
Kids-
really want to take those piano lessons? Because I don't want to force you into that.
We're going to have a whole generation of super spoiled kids because their parents are afraid.
That would be new.
Don't Kylo Ren on me.
Remember how I promised to never chop off your hand? Well, now
You don't
your
stab me
turn.
through the chat. Yeah.
Goodness. Well, I mean, it goes also to that. The Disney Infinity game is a completely. It's 100% marketed to children, and as a result, a lot of stuff that's in the movies doesn't happen in the game in those stories. You
Yeah.
know, like you don't see Anakin at the temple at the end of episode. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
that takes place in the Clone Wars, so excuse that. But like, you don't see. Actually, no, you do see the Emperor thrown off off of the balcony at the end of the Jedi portion. But for Force Awakens, like none of the major like violence or
Yeah.
anything really happens to make sure kids are super invested in all of the characters.
Yeah, and I
It's
suppose
weird.
they're good at that of sort of segregating it. So some of the content is not there. So like if kids just want to enjoy Star Wars and they don't want to be exposed to the scarier things, there's avenues for that. Cool. I want to talk a little bit about the action figure rollout. We already kind of touched on that, but I want to touch more. It is hard.
That's my new text alert. I want to touch more.
I want to touch more, and then you paused me as I said it's hard. Star Wars is for kids, everybody.
Yep, family
it's
show.
a family affair. It is hard to find the cool characters. I will say it is harder even than in my youth or when in the 90s and early 2000s when all of the Power of the Force, Power of the Jedi figures were out. It is harder than that to find the actual cool characters now.
Yeah.
A month after the film's release and many months after the figure's release. I feel like that's an error.
It kind of, but it was sort of our own fault because before the movie came out, everyone was looking at all this Star Wars merchandise and it was packed to the rafters.
Right.
It was like Rey was out, Finn was out. A lot of these characters that we're not seeing now were all over the place. And people had that wait and see sort of like, well, I'm going to wait and see if it's good because I bought a bunch of stuff when Phantom Menace came out
Right.
and I hate myself for it. And then the movie came out and it was great and all the cool stuff got bought up. And the thing is, it's like companies live off that feedback. It was like, so for a month, they were like, oh, Star Wars stuff isn't selling. And so once the movie came out and it started selling, they're like, oh, we got to get into production. And so now they're doing that and trying to get stuff here.
Okay,
But,
now is this action
you know.
figure insider information that you know? Like, are they actively trying to up the number of, like, Rey, Finn,
Oh, yeah.
everything,
Yeah,
all
of
of the
course.
cool characters on the shelves.
Of course they are, because now, well, a lot of it too was stuff that a lot of them weren't aware of. A lot of different merchandisers didn't know the whole plot of the movie. So
Right.
they thought, oh, Captain Phasma's going to have a huge part in this movie because look at how cool she is. They didn't know, so they put a bunch of stuff out. And Rey seems interesting, but we don't know much about her except she carries a staff, which is maybe the least interesting weapon in the Star Wars universe. We'll make a couple and
Thousands
and
of
hope for
Darth
the best.
Plagueis fans
Yeah.
cried out in anger, still hoping that
you
that
know?
staff is the key to it all. But yeah, to me, okay, so that's great. My understanding of action figure just production, and correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
is it still a matter of like Target can't call someone and say, give us all your Reys and Fins. They order in boxes.
Right.
And you have a certain amount of Reys and Fins in that box, and you have a certain amount of Gus Tours and other lame characters that people don't want.
Right, but they'll like a bigger place like Target has a little more say. They can go like, we want a box that's like half Reys and half of whatever.
Okay, so they
else,
can actually
you
start
know.
to dictate that.
But like a smaller, like mom and pop shop, it's whatever they want to send them.
Yeah.
It's pretty much. You know.
And you said it earlier with the exclusive Walgreen Black Series, with pop figures, with amiibos, even with the Disney Infinity figures, all sorts of toys. Now you can get exclusives from different stores. So that's
Right.
deals that each individual manufacturer is making with those to drive sales for that family of product. So even like you have a Kylo Ren pop figure which was exclusive to Target, and I have just a regular Kylo Ren pop figure.
Yes.
You look at them, if you take off the only at Target sticker, I would have no idea which one is the right one until you take it out of the box.
Mine's head
Yours
bobbles.
is a bobblehead.
Yes.
Mine is not.
And I have not taken it out of the box, and I'm not going to, so that head will
there's-
never
so
even
that's
get
the
to
thing.
bobble.
That's the thing.
Exactly.
When you get,
Kylo Ren in captivity.
when you get that level of exclusivity,
Right.
is it worth it?
yeah.
I mean, I think it is good for adults, but I feel bad for kids who just
want
want
the
to
toys.
Yeah.
invest in the heroes, Rey and Finn and Poe, and even Captain Phasma. I don't care that she wasn't in the movie much.
Right.
She looks cool. And if you
And
had
you
the
get to
action
create her
figure,
own adventures.
exactly, you get to make up her own
Yeah.
adventures and fill it in and play how she escaped from Starkiller Base. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's actually bad for
Well,
how it impacts the films because you're not digging those hooks in as deep.
I agree, but I think to their credit, what Hasbro's been doing is they have the Star Wars Black 6-inch line, which is basically geared towards adults.
Yeah.
They're like at $20 a figure. Not a lot of kids are going to be
No, those are
very
collectors, and that's
invested
great.
in that. But the 3 3/4 line, they tend to move through product a lot faster and get more shipments more rapidly. And so a lot of these characters are coming out, and they do a very smart thing with like the popular characters where they'll release multiple versions of them.
Right.
Like for Rey, there's like the standard Rey that's just going to come out on a card, but then there's one with like armor and missile launchers and stuff like that.
Well, yeah,
You know,
there's the standard Rey, and then there's the lightsaber one.
because they know they're like kids are going to have trouble finding her. You know, if we just release one version of her, so let's release a few at a few different price points too, and then they threw in some characters like with a vehicle or something like that.
Yeah.
So that it's like if your kid just desperately wants that character, they can get a version of them somehow.
But here's the thing,
You
Mike.
know.
I disagree.
Okay.
this might be the first time I've ever disagreed with
No,
you, Mike
that's
Black.
fine.
No,
No.
because I am a child. I like the 3 3/4 because they're what is a huge part of my fandom. I like the Black Series just fine, but I just like getting like what are the main Star Wars figures, which is the traditional 3 3/4,
Right.
the ones that are aimed at kids who just want to play and live the fantasy, and
Yeah.
those are hard to come by.
Yeah, right now,
It's a big
yeah.
part of the whole Where's Rey controversy, which I don't want to spend too much time on because I think it's been discussed
Yeah.
a bunch. I think that just quickly I'll say I think there's been some places where she has been left off horribly, like the whole Monopoly thing. But then I think a part of it is just some of these basic action figures have been very hard to find, and I don't think those are intentional Rey leaving outs.
No,
I think
no.
those are just like every time I go to a Target or a Toys R Us or a Kmart, it's just the Resistance fighter.
Yeah.
And
Well, yeah.
they're just it's a month out and they're just not getting them on the shelves yet.
And part of it is the price is they're pretty cheap, and so a parent can go in and just clear out the whole aisle, and take pretty much everybody. And if you find someone like Rey, or you find like Finn in the Stormtrooper armor, someone that's like a little harder to find.
Yeah.
A lot of times that'll get you to buy a bunch of other stuff too.
Right.
Like you'll be like, well, since I've got this one cool one, I should take everyone else on the shelf. And part of the problem with Rey happened before the movie, which was a lot of parents groups got very upset about Slave Leia. I don't know, a lot of people don't remember this, but they started protesting because they didn't like Slave Leia in there. Well, that was the female Star Wars figure that was out on the shelves. So the data that came back was people aren't buying the one female Star Wars figure we have. So when they went into production, I'm sure that data made it in there of like, well, we don't even know this character at all.
Yeah, I can only agree with that up to a point, because that's the 6-inch Black Series that issue was all about.
Yeah.
There have been Leias over the years since 1978 that have sold well.
They sell okay, but they didn't sell well until just recently.
Okay.
Like I would say Leia on average was probably selling as well as like second and third tier characters. The female characters just didn't sell very well.
Yeah, I have no doubt.
The only ones,
yeah, I think that is definitely going to change once there are more Reys on the shows.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's talk a little bit about some of the more pop culture stuff, like the popularity of Twitter accounts like Emo Kylo Ren and Very Lonely Luke. In particular with Emo Kylo Ren, which for some reason, if people don't know this, there's a great Twitter account that's really kind of note perfect of updating, translating his emo-ishness in the movie to sort of modern social media stuff and events. Do you think Episode 8 will be careful to not get too emo so they don't cross over into like actually parody?
Well, he's grown up now. I think
in Episode 8?
Now knowing, well, no, I mean, just at the very end of Episode 7, everything that he knew, much like all of the other light side characters, changed. He got disfigured. He fought somebody who was better than him. So as a character, you would want to see him grow up and take things more seriously, where he starts to maybe freak out and then control himself and bring it and internalize that, which in turn would make his anger stronger. Well, no. But,
no, I'm not laughing at you. I had a thought in my head.
Okay, but as a dark side
point.
user, it should, in theory, make him stronger if he holds on to that anger and lets it build and build and build until the next encounter with Rey. So I think, for the character's sake, I hope so.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I was just imagining the Twitter account all grown up Kylo Ren, where he can do things by himself,
much more mature.
Well, it's like the Matt Twitter account that they made after the undercover boss thing, but with Kylo's mask on it, so he's got like a vest and a tie.
Yeah,
he's just like Sears photo catalog sort of thing.
Yeah. I just think it's fascinating when we as fans or as a culture kind of make an agreement about the truth of what this character is. And I think our kind of joke about Kylo Ren that's supported by Emo Kylo Ren, it's supported by the Saturday Night Live sketch, is on point to what the filmmakers wanted of his character, but then take into this comic exaggeration. Yeah. It's fascinating to me of you got to be really careful with that so you're not kind of making...
That he doesn't become a caricature.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think he's in danger of that right now. It'll take events in the next movie to temper that, I think. Yeah. And I'd imagine a lot of it will have to do with his costume in the second one. If he goes more goth, it's just going to get worse.
More fringed edges.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think in the same way that we were talking about the Darth Vader marketing, the Cuddly Vader, that it will just work to the benefit if he comes back that much stronger of a character.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Do you guys think that fan theories could influence the film?
No.
Not unless someone just nails it exactly like what they're going to do, and then they'd have to scramble a little bit, but I doubt they'd even change that much.
And the thing is, there's so many that somebody will go, they took my idea. When it's like, no, we've had this written for 4 years.
Yeah, but have they? Because it seems like things are much more fluid than we would
such as
expect.
The Force. But just in general of how many theories there are,
right?
Somebody will have gotten it right, But
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to go, oh, that's a good idea.
I don't think they have some elaborate plan of this is exactly who Rey is. She is half Qui-Gon's kid and half Palpatine's clone. Like,
Right.
I don't think that they have some weird elaborate theory and then like somebody guesses it and they're like, damn, we'll change it. I don't think that. But if there was like this overwhelming just surge on social media where everybody thought the coolest thing in the world would be if Rey is not related to anyone. And if that was just, if StarWars.com put out a poll and that won by like 90%, do you think that could ever affect them and go like, that's okay, that's an interesting idea. We'll move in that direction.
I think stuff like that has to have some influence, but for the most part, I feel like whatever track they're on, they're going to stay on.
Okay.
You know? And in a way, I felt after watching this one and the parallels it had to A New Hope and to the rest of the trilogy, actually,
Yeah.
I felt like I kind of already know what's going to happen, like the major beats, and it's just little surprises here and there.
Right.
And that's the stuff I'm really interested in. And that's was kind of the lesson of this movie was like, I know the over arc, you know?
Right.
It's really the little things that happen along the way that are most interesting.
Cool.
You know? And so that's the stuff that I'm interested in.
So if it was possible to force a theory to be true, is there any theory that you guys would like to force into Episode 8?
Jar Jar.
Any theory?
Yeah,
The Jar Jar's the grand evil.
the grand Sith,
The Sith Lord?
Actually, I did see one recently that I thought was fun but didn't make any sense, and it would help me discredit the character. That that Snoke is Boba Fett,
Right.
and the disfiguring came from the Sarlacc and all of that. They're like, you know what? Do that, so that way we don't have to hear about Boba Fett anymore. Crucify me.
Such Boba Fett anger.
I'm over it.
You're over Boba Fett, or you're over anger,
I'm
or
Boba Fett. I'm an IG-88 guy. I've been marked down as that.
okay. So if Snoke was IG-88, how would you feel?
Fantastic.
Really, beyond any logic.
That means that he's a cyborg, or if not a cyborg, just has like a Terminator-esque.
Downloaded himself into it.
Yeah, that'd be pretty great if it just IG-88 with like a Scooby-Doo level mask.
Yeah, just rip.
Well,
Yeah.
It was the old murder droid.
I always did love the idea
Meddling
that
kids.
IG-88 was mentally insane.
Yeah.
Was like that a robot had gone insane, and so I don't put anything past him. Like there's still a chance that
So,
you know.
Mike, do you have any theory that you want in Episode 8? If you could just wave your hand and magically make something be, is there anything you want?
No, not really. Like I'm really just interested in seeing where they want to take me more
Right.
than where I want it to be, because I can do that at home. You know?
With your action
Yeah,
figures.
basically
Right.
anytime I want. You know, so I'm more interested in hearing their version of the story.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Well, I think that's a great view on this whole discussion of like you do. I think as consumers, we want to be listened to, like you were saying early on.
Yeah.
Like when we're paying for a certain thing, that means we like it and we want more of it.
Right.
And if we like something that exists in the movie, we want to be able to buy that. But
Yeah.
at a certain point too, we also just want to be like kids sitting down at story time, gathering around.
Yeah.
And hearing this epic adventure from long ago.
Yeah, because I think, like, right now I feel like they've got these characters. They know what they're doing with them, and I trust them.
Yeah.
It's like, I remember what got me kind of to stop reading comic books was something that happened in a comic book where I was like, this is so completely out of character for this character that I don't trust these people anymore to tell me this story. So I just stopped reading.
Oh, wow.
You know,
Yeah.
that was a long time ago. but
What
yeah.
was the book though?
It was in Batman where Dr. Leslie Tompkins killed someone. And I was like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah.
And
Some people.
yeah, the internet's going crazy right now. Like the four people that know what I'm talking about are like, nah. What?
I know the characters. I don't know the story. And I called in and voted to murder Robin. So I have actually
So did
affected
I. Yeah.
the
Guys are
outcome of a
monsters.
big media franchise. My final question for you guys, because we're running a little short on time for this segment. What is your strongest Star Wars like pop culture or marketing memory? What is outside of the films themselves? What has affected you the most?
I mean, all of the commercials back when I was a kid in the early '90s, when all of the re-releases of the original movies and the original toys were happening, there was something for everything, like High C, a breakfast cereal, all of the toys, and the classic, like, you want to buy this, like the classic 90s toys.
Better Star Wars.
You better Star Wars. That style, anytime the only thing that trumps it is like the Crossfire commercial. But aside from that, all of those Star Wars commercials made me Star Wars, really.
Yeah.
Like, they really made me want a Star Wars. So the commercials from when I was growing up.
Cool.
Like,
How about you, Mike?
For me, it was the dark times. It was between Jedi and the One Last Time VHS re-release.
Yeah.
That long period where there was just no Star Wars to do. You weren't allowed to Star Wars.
You can't Star Wars.
Yeah, you're not Star Warsing in here.
Hey, look at the sign. No Star Wars in here.
This is a nice place. You can't Star Wars here. And so, like, there was that long period of, like, drought, basically. And then when they did that, like, I remember seeing a billboard that said "One Last Time," and it was just Vader's face on it. And thinking, oh, good, something Star Wars. I can Star Wars again, you know? And then, like
Clark Kent
the figures
Star Wars
came out like a year later, and the special edition news started happening. So I guess really that year when Star Wars came back was what affected me the most.
Cool. Yeah, I think for me, it was probably seeing Luke Skywalker on The Muppet Show, both, both as a child and as an adult.
In space.
And I was so young, and you didn't get much Star Wars on television. You could buy it everywhere, but just to see actual Star Wars characters doing things, and I was just so blown away. And then a little while back, I saw it as an adult and was like, this is nuts. This should not have fulfilled my Star Wars needs as a child, but it did.
But you were a child, you know? It was like Miss Piggy. Yeah, and like I didn't put it together for a while that I was like, that's Yoda. that same person is Yoda, you know?
Yeah, so that was it for me. So I don't think there's any better way to wrap up this segment than Mark making his commercial noise and saying, you better Star Wars again. So could you do that?
You better Star Wars.
Can you do it again? Okay, good. I wanted the explosions, because the explosions are so 90s.
Star Wars.
Somebody bursting out of a closet. You better Star Wars.
Do you know how to Star Wars? Too bad.
You're gonna
learn
learn
how to Star Wars today. Exclusive at Target.
Extreme Star Wars.
Extreme Star
I thought
Wars.
this guy was a Target exclusive. That's how bad.
The extreme
That's
Guavian
marketing.
Death
That's
guy.
too much marketing. If that was the case. All right, from here we're gonna go on to our new favorite segment, Mind Probe. That's where you can. It's always gonna be new. That's where you can go to our Facebook page, Jedi Alliance, like us, so that when you see the update for Mind Probe, you can ask us a question. And these are questions from the community, and we're gonna talk about them here. We got some fun ones this week, so let's get started with Mr. Jake Howard asking, do you think Rogue One will have an opening crawl and opening theme, or something new? May the Force be with you.
That's very polite of Jake.
Yeah,
I
just wanna make sure.
really appreciated that.
Just wanna make sure.
I don't want it to have a crawl, because going back to our earlier conversation, I feel like they need to separate it a little bit. And in the big picture with Force Awakens, I think they so successfully had the fandom awaken, Star Wars is back, that now it's time to experiment.
I agree.
And I would like to have something crawl-like that sets up the story, but not the actual crawl.
Instead of a crawl, just have a scene. Just have a scene where that sets up the forward motion of the story.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, I would like that. I like the crawl just because it's been traditional in every media, like the video games, everything.
Yeah.
They've used it, but I feel like this would be the time to change it
To make the break,
to
so they're
do
not utterly
something
married to
else.
it.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
You know, actually, I would like the Clone Wars opening
Yeah.
that has that old newsreel serial, because that has the feeling of it, you know. And I
Yeah.
love how many Clone Wars episodes start with somebody just shouting a noun of like capture,
Yeah.
or war, shopping,
And even
trouble on
instead
this system,
of
blah 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 blah.
the long time ago, they used some other sort of quote in that space. You know,
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that'd
Before
be cool.
long ago. Yeah, somewhere back
Longer ago.
Longer ago.
Star Wars.
Star Wars longer ago. It's beautiful. Travis Alexander asks, I've always wondered, why is it called the Jedi mind trick? Forcing weaker individuals to do your bidding sounds more like a dark side thing, but only the Jedi are shown using it.
Yeah, that's a great question.
You've never wondered about this.
I know I haven't. That was weird. And with, next question comes.
I feel
No,
like
that is a good question.
yeah, I feel like it's a great question.
Well, now that we've acknowledged it's
Yeah, no,
And none of us have an answer for
Oh
it.
no,
but it seems like-
I always have opinions. I'm trying to pause and be polite and say,
well, actually,
Mike, what are your thoughts?
I think it's kind of like they're cops in a sense, and they know ultimately what the Force is supposed to be doing. And if one guy being dumb is getting in the way of that, they can move him out of the way.
Okay.
You know?
Interesting. I feel like in Force Awakens we saw Kylo Ren kind of do the dark side version of it, of not, I'm going to make you believe something different, but I'm actually going to go into your mind and take information I want, which is it's a very mean mind trick. It's a very aggressive.
It's the opposite.
Yeah. But I think the idea for me for Jedi is this is better than fighting. And the idea that these powers are for knowledge and defense are always anytime we can get around a problem without fighting. So I think in like the Jedi Codebook, it's like try to use a mind trick. If that doesn't work, just cut one hand off. And then if it's really a problem, we can get down to cutting heads off.
Yeah.
maybe a force pusher too.
A force pusher
Cut
too
some
in
legs
summer.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's step 3.
Yeah.
Get to higher ground where you can cut their legs off.
Right. So a
Call them the chosen one.
truly peaceful Jedi.
Yeah.
We'll start with
I
the
like that.
finger. Yeah.
I like that answer. Yeah, it is strange, but it is a better alternative than fighting. Whereas Sith would, or the dark side users would probably just go straight to, yo, bro, you want to fight?
Yeah, they want to fight.
Just lightning you
Yeah.
immediately.
It's a really quick, like a trick buzzer, because those are a thing. Wow, what a reference. Next question, Stephen Kelly. Would you want to see a Dengar spinoff with Zach Galifianakis' Dengar about how he got Luke's lightsaber to Maz Kanata?
I would only want to see this if it's just tragic. If it's like total tragic clown. I know he has Zach Galifianakis has a new show out. I think what is it called?
I forgot, but it's
I can't remember.
It's a clown name.
But it is, and he's playing a clown, right? And it's kind of that tragic clown thing. I would only want to see it if it is taken dead serious, and this is the tragic tale of Dengar trying to have importance in the galaxy,
Like how he
and
got
be
his
someone.
bandages.
Yeah, and
like it opens to Gary Jules' Mad World, and it slowly has it in the background, like throughout the entire film.
yeah, I didn't get Solo, but if I can get this young Jedi kid's hand, I'll be somebody. I'll make
Maybe
it.
I'll finally be somebody. Oh, that's so sad.
I'll
I wanna
finally
see
be
it.
respected.
That's the Netflix series we deserve. Is the Dengar story.
Respecting Dengar.
making a bounty hunter.
My dinner with Dengar.
Dinner with Dengar. I like it. I like that a lot. Crap, now I have to write that down. Okay. Our next question. Or no, sorry. Did you have a?
No, that was
Okay, cool. Patrick Barman asks, if a tree falls on an Ewok in the forest moon of Endor and there are no rebels around to hear it, did Han shoot first?
Yes.
Like, no nonsense.
I really don't think
Dang
there's
it.
any other answer. I think we should move on. I think
Okay,
that's
sorry, I
just,
was hoping for a pop for that one.
yes.
All right, our last question comes from Hiram Jones. What would be the best and weirdest characters to be made into a sippy cup, like the BB-8 and Chewy cups found at Disneyland and Disney World?
Well, I want a Hiram Jones sippy cup.
Yeah, that would be pretty weird. That's a Star Wars name.
It's a great Star Wars name. I want Palpatine. Palpatine is my second favorite character behind Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I always like with the evil characters, it's the reason I only have a Kylo Ren and Darth Maul. I like it when they're made to do things that would disgrace and anger the characters
Yeah.
if they were real. Like Palpatine, I rule an entire galaxy. Stop sipping out of my head.
Stop gaining nutritious juice.
Yeah, for once he'd be like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I do not want to hear him say nutritious juice ever again.
Nutritious
You want this, don't you? Drink it from my head.
Drink it.
But what version of Palpatine do you think would be the weirdest? Like him in the chair watching the Dooku fight?
Yeah, if it was his whole... I think Jedi, Return of the Jedi, it's his whole body in the chair, and then you're just sipping out of it. So then you'd be sipping... The straw would come out of his head still, but you'd be sipping out of his whole body, which is
What would
extra
be
gross.
great is Senator Palpatine from Episode 3, and as you sip, he gets more withered and withered.
More decrepit. It's like one of those heat-changing things where he slowly reveals his face.
But the other thing,
cool.
the other Palpatine is he could be something where like a bunch of people get to share a drink, and he has lightning coming out of his fingers, and every lightning is a straw,
Well,
and you're all
yes.
drinking like a fruity rum drink.
It's like a volcano bowl, but
a
it's a
Palpatine bowl.
But you know what you would have to fill it with? Gatorade, because it's got electrolytes.
Sip electrolytes.
Sorry. Yeah, no, that wins. I don't know. I
You
don't know a better
you
one.
guys want to sip out anybody else?
Well, Jabba the Hutt.
Oh yeah, that's pretty gross
But it
too.
would be like
Real gross.
it would be
to
like
sip out of.
boba, so there would be like a little bit of gelatin.
Yeah,
like
I was gonna.
fat,
That's
like
the
gross.
perfect
There'd,
beverage for him.
there'd always be fluid stuck in his tail, right?
Yeah.
Because it'd be hard to get in there.
Or boba tea out of Boba Fett would be one.
Gummy
maybe.
frogs.
Gummy the snack aquarium.
Yeah.
That was fun. So remember, if you want to ask us a question, just head over to our Facebook page, Jedi Alliance. Like us so you can see our updates, including you taking part in our Duel of the Fates, which we will get to in a moment. Don't cue the dang music yet. Go on to our Facebook, find the Mind Probe section, and leave us a question. Thank you.
And now, Duel of the Fates. Hey, summon the Force energy. I've decided that's the noise that gets made. It's sort of like a Wilhelm grunt, not a scream.
That kid.
I'm summoning the Force. So last week's question on Duel of the Fates was, if you could be advised in real life by a Force ghost, would you want Obi-Wan, Yoda, or Anakin? And here on the panel, the wonderful James Arnold Taylor, who plays Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Clone Wars, was with us, and we all agreed Obi-Wan Kenobi. That is my sincere answer. It wasn't just because James was here. It's because I like that he's going to kind of tell you what he thinks you need to hear. Before we reveal what the audience said on our Facebook poll, what do you think, Mike Black?
If I could pick between those three,
Who would you want to be advised by?
probably, honestly, Anakin, because he's been through it all.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna have a kind of a nice summary sort of view on everything because they haven't had their legs chopped off.
Yeah.
I want advice from a guy who's had to file that insurance claim.
So you think that he could give you good information on
yeah.
workplace accidents?
Yeah, and a myriad of other things. As Dave Attell once said, he was like, I don't want advice from a guy with one tooth. I want directions from a guy with one leg, because he knows the easiest way to get there.
Oh, yeah.
You're not going to be hopping fences.
Yeah, that's great. And our audience agrees with you. There were a lot of votes, but just a few extra votes for Anakin, and mostly because people wanted to see that perspective from both sides. There were a couple of write-in votes. Somebody voted for Qui-Gon, and someone voted for me, which is nice, but I don't want to die and become a ghost quite yet.
Let's wait.
So in about 80 years, I'd be willing to become a Force ghost. A couple of comments from you guys, the fans of Jedi Alliance. Chris Marie said, Yoda, 900 years gives you a lot of experience, and maybe he'd share some awesome swamp recipes to go with root leaf stew. Which I really like the idea of Yoda coming back and just giving you, no, salt a dash more.
Yeah. From beyond the grave, cooking tips.
The ghost of Julia Child.
And then Hunter Null, another great Star Wars name. All of our fans have great Star Wars names. Hunter Null says, Anakin, who has been on both ends of the spectrum and is realistically the best choice to help you in your darkest hours when you're on the way to making a bad choice. This week's question is nice and straightforward. The question is, in The Force Awakens, is BB-8 giving a lighter thumbs up or a lighter flip off?
Oh.
So this has been something that's been debated on the internet a little bit. I follow at Geek and Sundry on the great YouTube channel.
As everybody should.
On Twitter, and they ran a poll, and I missed seeing their results. But the poll came up because people were tweeting at them going, like, it's a flip-off, and the person running the account going, you're nuts! Okay, I'll do a poll. So do you guys think it's a thumbs up, yeah, buddy, or it's a, you're lying to me, I'm going to give you a little...
To me,
a little taste of the old BB-8.
To me, it would have meant he did a complete 180 on Finn for no good reason, really.
Yeah.
And was like, yeah, we're buddies now. No, and also that it's fire.
Right.
Know?
So you think it's a flip-off?
Yeah.
So you have interpreted it as a flip-off. Oh, wow. Okay.
Straight up blue flamer,
Definitely.
too.
Yeah. How about you, Mark?
I would like to think, due to his ingenuity, he's too young to really get that, and he's like, hey, that's a positive affirmation, I think. Well, I'll give him one right back. So as much as I totally agree, I think it would. I think it suits the character more that it was a thumbs up. But there are times when it's like GIF or GIF. It fits the situation where you need it most.
Yeah, I think it is. I definitely think it's a thumbs up because I think he's a much friendlier droid than we've met. Yes. A trusting droid who's like out for adventures. He's initially concerned about Finn, and then he in that moment he opens up to him, and Finn is so happy, like, please trust me, and then Finn initiates it with the thumbs up. So I think it is a response. That's my take. I will be really, really fascinated to see what you guys think. We will post this on our Facebook page tomorrow, and we'll have you guys weigh in. And I am so looking forward to not only seeing what the consensus is, but your rationale for exactly why this is a thumbs up or a flip off. So do you guys have, as we wrap up, any final questions, or not questions, but any final sort of comments and thoughts about that relationship between marketing, pop culture, and the movies themselves?
I think now that with the delay of episode 8 that they are taking the time to sort of listen to what the fandom is responding to instead of just going with the plan. I think moving forward now we're going to see a lot more of a widespread or even a more specialized, okay, so if that character gets the most responses, then we'll make as many as just as a sort of summary of all the stuff that we've been saying, we're going to make as many different types of this character that we can so that everybody can really buy it and pay our salaries. But ultimately, the marketing, the fact that we do have that one-to-one response of, hey, do you like this? No. Oh, okay, well, let's change that. And now how it's affecting Star Wars.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be much better going forward, and there's going to be a lot less of an outrage because I say outrage, but I think everybody's going to get what they want.
Yes.
Ultimately, because Disney can afford it.
They're going to become more and more savvy about responding to requests, whether they're made via social media or whether they're made by voting with $1.
Exactly.
Right.
Cool. Much, much better way of saying it than I did.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think Disney is going to do with Star Wars what Warner Brothers finally cracked the code on with Batman, of that we can make a Batman for everybody,
Right.
With just by putting different types of media out there, we'll find something that appeals to everyone. And I think that's kind of the overall game plan, but it really appears to be working right now. And I just look forward to seeing stuff that I never knew I always wanted, as they say, like
that's great.
That's going to be coming like this. Like I was not expecting, and now I have it, and I'm just so happy.
Change the game.
Yeah. You get to Star Wars in ways you never knew you wanted to Star Wars.
Keep Star Warsing.
All right.
Star Wars harder.
Mike Black, thank you so much for joining us. You're
Thanks
always
for
one of our
having
very
me.
favorite guests. You're always
Thank you.
insightful and hilarious. Can you tell people where they can find you and anything you want to plug?
Just at Mike Black Attack on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Awesome.
Excellent. And I'm Soapbox Mark. You can follow me on Twitter at Soapbox Mark. A lot of stuff coming up at this network and our sister site, AfterBuzz TV. If you're a fan of Rooster Teeth, we have a episode of Ruby coming up this week where we have one of the producers as well as one of the actresses on the show. So please tune into that. If you're a wrestling fan, we have the NXT After Show, which I'm a host of. The Gimmick podcast is a podcast I do thanks to Mr. Ken Knapsack, friend of the show, the progenitor of the show. So check that out if you want more information. Follow me on Twitter at SoapboxMark.
Cool. I am Joseph Scrimshaw. You can find me on all the social medias as at Joseph Scrimshaw. I got a lot of fun things coming up. I slipped up there and almost said something awful, but I didn't say it. I have a lot of fun things coming up. Don't let your kids watch this program anymore. I'm going to be on Star Wars Minute all week. It's a great podcast. Dissects Star Wars 1 minute at a time, and they are now doing The Phantom Menace. So if you're interested in that, check out Star Wars Minute. You can also check out my podcast, Obsessed. That's on Feral Audio. And if you want to see me do live shows, you can check out my website at josephscrimshaw.com. I'm going to be doing an hour of Doctor Who-related stand-up at the big Doctor Who convention, Gallifrey 1, here in Los Angeles in just a couple weeks, so you can check that out. Thank you for watching and or listening to Jedi Alliance. You can visit popcorntalknetwork.com to find a nice list of all the past episodes of Jedi Alliance and links to both YouTube and iTunes. Please also follow us on Twitter and Facebook at Jedi Alliance for all the us-related news. This has been Jedi Alliance on the Popcorn Talk Network. We talk movies. Thank you for listening, because many Bothans died to bring us this information.
For producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Whitworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
Views expressed herein are those of the hosts only, and not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners and